Welcome to the HIV podcast. Each week we focus on a person, historical event or pop culture moment linked to HIV and explore the story of what actually happened. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Jess, and between us we've been working in the field of HIV for 40 years. Our aim is to get as many people as possible HIV educated. Oh, do you know what? I was about to do an intro and then I literally went blank, Sarah, because I thought I don't know how to do a Spanish accent. I'm gonna forge forward. Bienvenido al podcast sobre el HIV. Does that sound Spanishy?
We had someone do a Spanish intro, didn't we? A little while ago.
Yes, we did. And it was much... Oh, my God, I can go and compare it to that. Oh, no, don't. Actually, no one do that. No, nobody do that. I've used Google Translate and no one do that. Let's just pretend. Well done, Jess. That was great.
It was great. It sounded amazing. Next week's language. Oh, let's do Cantonese.
Challenge accepted.
Okay.
Let's go. Okay, that's fine. I'm happy to be challenged. We could do Vulcan at some point.
Who speaks Vulcan?
Mr. Spock?
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
You didn't know he spoke Vulcan? Can you do that with your hands? I'm asking Sarah to do the finger thing that Mr. Spock did.
No, I cannot do this. Look, that's as good as it gets.
Really?
I can't do it with either hand. No.
The guy that played him in the film, in the remake that they did, I can't remember his name now. But they had to, he was like you, he couldn't do it. So they had to sellotape his fingers together.
Oh, the shame of it. What does it mean if you can't do it?
I think it's just a genetic thing. It's like, can you roll your tongue? It's like that, isn't it? You got
Can
what?
you?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe they're connected. What else could you do?
Loads of things. I can fit my fist in my mouth. My thumb goes all the way down to my arm.
Oh, have you got that hypermobility thing?
Yes. Yeah. I can literally bend backwards and put my head between my legs. It's quite the treat for Ben. No, I'm joking. That's horrible. That's horrible. I'm joking. Mother.
He's a lucky man.
I'm joking, mother.
Don't you edit this out.
I know I'm going to leave it in, and Bernie will just have to take it. Oh. That's my mother, obviously, everyone. But for those that haven't listened for a while, we haven't actually mentioned Berners for a while, have we? My mum is called Bernice. We often mention her because she was our first listener.
Yes, she was.
A loyal fan.
Yeah. Maybe not a fan now.
Probably
anything else you want to disclose to her?
No, I'm good, thanks. I don't know where we went with this.
Right. Well, shall we just move on then? Do you know what we're doing this week?
Travel, baby.
We are. And do you know why we're looking at travel?
I actually don't.
Oh, simply because it's the holiday season here in the UK.
Oh, okay, perfect. I thought you were going to say you'd found loads of interesting HIV facts, which I'm sure you have.
Not really, no.
Oh, really? Do you know what it makes me think of? Do you remember when there used to be, and I know there are still lots of laws around travel and HIV and your meds in certain countries having, different laws. And I'm not about to go into all of those because I do not have all the knowledge and I don't want to give anyone false information. But I do remember many years ago when in America, it was very difficult, wasn't it? And we'd have clients who would send their medication through the post beforehand to friends, wouldn't they? And then they would get there because it was just a nightmare.
Oh, well, we are going to look at countries around the world that have restrictions on those living with HIV. I have to be honest, a lot of them I would not class as holiday destinations, but we will gloss over that.
Let's see.
Yes. Right. So, as I said, it's 2024 and some countries still stigmatise against HIV. Can you believe that?
Sadly, I can after doing this podcast for a while.
It makes you really cynical, doesn't it?
Yeah. Not right. I don't agree by any means, but yeah.
Oh, so firstly, an article from 2019, which is looking at UNAIDS and the United Nations Development Programme. They were urging countries to keep the promises made in the 2016 United Nations Political Declaration on Ending AIDS. Another catchy title for a document.
Yeah, like it.
And essentially all they're asking for is for countries to remove all forms of HIV-related travel restrictions. So they're not asking for a massive amount. So they noted that since 2015, 4 countries had taken steps to lift restrictions.
That's it.
If you'd go to any of these on holiday. Belarus.
Oh, I would.
Lithuania.
Yes.
Yeah, I would too. The Republic of Korea.
Yes, yeah, because that's not North Korea, is it? That's South Korea.
No.
And they have like stunning cherry. Aren't they famous? They have cherry blossoms. A friend of mine went recently.
I know Japan's famous for their cherry blossom. They have a whole cherry blossom season.
That's what it's like in South Korea.
Oh, nice. Well, yes, we would like to go there then.
Oh.
And Uzbekistan.
Do you know what? I don't know too much about Uzbekistan, so I would go.
Anyway, well done those countries because they took steps to lift travel restrictions. So good. They're in the good camp, Jess. So at the time, the United Nations Development Programme said that HIV-related travel restrictions fuel exclusion and intolerance by fostering the dangerous and false idea that people on the move spread disease. This was pre-COVID. It's an interesting concept, and I don't think COVID has helped here, really, has it? Because that did spread via people on the move.
Yes.
So out of the 48 countries and territories that maintain restrictions, at least 30 still impose bans on entry or stay and residence based on HIV status. And 19 deport non-nationals on the grounds of their HIV status. Shame on you, 19 countries.
Do you know, I have to say that is way higher of a number than I thought you were going to say for all of those things. I'm actually really surprised.
So what we're going to do, because bear in mind that this was back in 2016. So we're going to look at whether that's still the case now. So we're using AIDSmap. I love AIDSmap. They're so good for stuff like this. And an article from October 2023 is to get all of the up-to-date info. And I should point out, actually, before we start, none of the countries that we are going to mention who have restrictions take into account whether someone is undetectable.
Is medication in all of these countries like readily available, or are they just not thinking about that?
I realise shaking my head doesn't really help on a podcast, does it?
It does not. So I can see you, but yeah, you've got to vocalise it.
And we should say that information may have changed since 2023. There's a website called HIVTravel.org, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And it gives updated information. If you're not sure whether the country you are travelling to for work or on holiday restricts against people with HIV, check that website out.
And as always, we'll put the link below.
Yeah. Right, we're going to do a bit of a whistle-stop tour around the world.
I'm ready.
And you, with your bilingual accents, can do the accents for each area.
Yeah, I would like to point out
continents, they're not countries, but we'll give it a go. Right, we're starting in North America. So for entry and short-term stays, there are no restrictions for people living with HIV travelling to North America, but we should say that only changed quite recently, didn't it? And in the last 10 years, rather than...
Oh, yes.
Like
so I literally thought you meant like last year, and I was like, oh.
No, like recently. I remember supporting cabin crew when I first started at TVPS 20 years ago who were diagnosed and they couldn't do long haul anymore. One of them awkwardly worked for American Airlines, said his whole job was and the airlines were awful.
I remember.
Really discriminatory.
Yeah, they just didn't want to deal with it, did they? Really would rather people were out.
Awful attitude. It's like, oh, you can't do your job then, so we're firing you. Not on. And that's why people went to huge lengths to keep their diagnosis a secret, like posting the medication forward, or just not disclosing to the airline.
Yeah. Well, you'd be almost put in a position where, if you're going to disclose, that's going to have this negative impact on your work. No one should have to face that. That's horrible.
No, I mean, it's bad enough that, you're having to go through your diagnosis, but without the support of your employer, or your employer saying, oh, yeah, that's bad on you, but we're firing you. I won't name the airline that concerned, but I will never fly with them.
I like it. I won't. I don't have a passport.
Do you not?
Look at your face. About 10 years ago, this was the opposite way round, where I remember you said to me you didn't have a passport, and I was like, what?
Because I had young children draining my resources. We had no money to go. Oh, no, God, I would not take a baby on a plane.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so obviously I have 3 dogs. I can't afford to put them into kennels to go anywhere. So when it expired, I just never renewed it because what do
What's the point?
Yeah, until I...
Whereas I have renewed mine because the kids are older.
Yeah.
We're almost at the stage where they might not come away with us.
Oh my God, really?
Well, they're kind of late teens now, aren't they?
It's crazy. Imagine the house parties. I'm
Oh,
just
dear.
saying. Just saying.
Anyway, we
Carrying on,
digress.
yeah.
North America. So in America, people entering with prescription medication, including HIV medication, need to carry a doctor's certificate in English stating that the drugs are required to treat a personal condition. So you don't have to specify what that condition is.
That's good.
Yes, that is very helpful. Also under North America is Canada, and you're planning to stay for more than 6 months, have to take an HIV test. And your visit will be assessed in terms of how much of an excessive demand you might put on the Canadian Health Service.
Wow.
I suppose it is an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah, to look at it, and it's quite black and white, isn't it? You're going to cost us this much money, so you can't come in, or you can come in. It's worth pointing out, publicly funded HIV medication is less than the amount that they would consider excessive. So $24,000, they say, is an excessive amount.
Really? So we can go to Canada, Sarah. We can injure ourselves up to that point, and they won't find that we're excessive.
Any more than that, yeah, they're not going to be too happy with us. Right, Central and South America.
Okay.
There generally no restrictions for people living with HIV traveling to those areas. I know lots of people like to go backpacking around there.
Yeah, I like the way you said that.
What?
Like it was one of those weird words that, like, you know, they like to backpack.
Well, let's be honest, it's never a thing I'm going to do. I just depriving yourself of electricity and no.
Oh no, but it's amazing. Like, so I didn't backpack, but I lived in Egypt for a couple of years, and obviously we lived in this like MDF. Honestly, it was an MDF flat on the top of a building. It was all made out of MDF. So the whole thing would like sway in the wind. But it was the best. And honestly, the power cuts. So I lived in this little place called Dahab. And it's like, it's a bit more built up now. But you'd have power cuts all the time. And when you had a power cut, because you were so far away from the next town, you were like over an hour away from Sharm el-Sheikh. You'd see all of the stars, and it was insane. I've never seen there was no black, there was no sky. It was just all stars. It was amazing.
No way.
Yeah,
I couldn't backpack. There's not enough room for all my buttons.
I love how you're saying backpack. Like it's, do you know what I mean? Most people are like, yeah, she went backpacking. And you're like, I don't want to backpack. It's like, and I'm going to bring my mother up again. I thought of this the other day. She always calls McDonald's.
Oh, yeah.
Like she's quite alien to it. She's like, would you like a McDonald's? And I'm like, yes, Bernice. You don't have to ask twice. Of course I would. It's like that,
This
Sarah.
is the same. Yes. It's just not for me.
I could tell.
Oh, well. Anyway. Right, there are restrictions in Central and South America on long-term stays, and this seems to be the kind of criteria for a lot of countries. If you're just visiting for a couple of weeks, yeah, crack on. If you're going there for a long time, and in particular to Honduras, Nicaragua and Paraguay, you have to take an HIV test.
Okay.
And if your test is positive, they just won't let you in. Unless you can pay for the treatment yourself.
Oh, but that's good to know.
Yeah.
So that's not a total no.
And with all of this, what I found is most countries have clear guidelines. It's the countries that don't have clear guidelines that you need to be the most concerned about, or the ones that don't mention it at all, because then you don't know where you stand. So if you are considering going to Aruba, Belize, Nicaragua, or Suriname, no idea,
isn't it? Yeah.
Then their regulations are unclear or inconclusive, and you have to contact their embassy for guidance.
Oh, that's slightly stressful as well, isn't it? I mean, that is jumping through quite a lot of hoops. Why can't we just make it obvious?
And I think if you have to check with the embassy of a country whether you're allowed in with your long-term health condition, is it worth the risk?
Did you say Aruba was on that list?
Aruba, yes.
Oh, it just makes me think of that song, Aruba, Bahama, come on, pretty mama. But now I'm a bit annoyed with Aruba. Feels less paradisey, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Where else are we going? All Caribbean. Right, no restrictions for people.
Why do some people say Caribbean?
I don't know. I say Caribbean. Is it not?
Yeah, but
Caribbean?
I do as well. No, but in
Caribbean.
In the Caribbean, don't they say the Caribbean? So I think we're saying it wrong.
Oh.
If anyone would like to clarify, I genuinely would really like to know.
Anyway, if you are going to the Caribbean, then some countries have restrictions. Cuba, the Dominican Republic, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Turks and Caicos, and the Virgin Islands. So in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, work permits are not renewed in the case of a positive HIV test result, and HIV positive foreigners have no access to treatment and services. Oh, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You always think Caribbean countries are like really friendly.
Yes, yeah. But so if you were able to fund your own treatment, can you be there? Do we know that, or does it not say?
No. So if you're there on a work permit, and if you're there for a long time, it's going to be on a work permit, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you test positive, your permit just won't be renewed.
Right, I'm with you.
If you go to the Cayman Islands or Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, regulations are unclear or inconclusive. I would say that what I just told you about St. Vincent and Grenadines was quite conclusive.
That is quite conclusive.
There's no information available at all for Bermuda.
And they're in my song. Oh, wait, it's not Aruba, Bahama, or is it Bermuda, Bahama? I'm so confused. Anyway.
We've now been recording for 4 hours while Jess tries to get the lyrics to that song correct.
The songs?
I've finished a funding bid in this time. Are we finished?
Lyrics.
Are we back?
You know the song I mean, Montego Bay?
No, we're still on it. Okay.
Okay, sorry. Carry on. It doesn't matter. I'll look this up in my own time, everyone. I'm sorry.
Yes, do it on your own time. Not on our time, not on the podcast family's time. Sub-Saharan Africa, that's where we're moving to next. Few restrictions for people living with HIV travelling there, apart from Equatorial Guinea. So if you're HIV positive, you might be refused entry or deported. It's pretty harsh, which I find interesting because they have an HIV rate of 3.8 per 1,000 head of people.
Yeah.
Pretty similar to what it is here in Slough, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, that is very similar. Which
means that Equatorial Guinea is one of the African countries with the greatest comparative increase in incidence since 2010. So I'm feeling that because they've had a big increase themselves, just don't want to let anyone else in.
Right, I see. So you're explaining their logic. I'm with you.
If you are planning on going to stay long term, as I am, in Mauritius or the Seychelles, they've got restrictions if you're HIV positive, and also Sudan. That's not on my holiday destination list. It's a bit troubled over there, isn't it? No.
Yes.
Places like Angola don't really have any information, so they're the ones to be really wary of, I would say. Again, contact embassies for advice, always sensible thing to do. North Africa and the Middle East. So if you're HIV positive, might mean that you are not allowed to enter Jordan, Iran, Iraq, the United Arab Emirates or Yemen, even for a short stay.
That is strict.
Very strict. If you're going to or you're passing through Dubai, so you're in transit, as in an airline passenger, then then it's fine if you're HIV positive.
So is that if you're not leaving the airport?
Yes. Other countries have got restrictions on long-term stays, including Algeria, Bahrain, Egypt. Israel,
I knew that one.
Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, and Tunisia.
Yeah.
Almost all of those countries will deport people based on their HIV status. So the thing to remember here is that we are talking about long-term stays. And lots of countries have restrictions and visas over what a long-term stay is.
Right.
So when we talk about Tunisia and Egypt, then if you're going there on holiday and you're HIV positive, that's fine. You're good. But if anybody's concerned, check with the embassy.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It must be. I just think it's so awful that people living with HIV actually even have to do this.
Well, it is.
It's not my first consideration when I think, where shall I go on holiday? To then think, I wonder if they'll need to know about my medical conditions.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It shouldn't have to be a thing that you're having to consider. You shouldn't have to think holiday. Oh, HIV. I must consider this.
No, it's just, especially now that so many people are undetectable. It's like we're giving out mixed messages, aren't we? But for some people, it's like, we're pushing so hard for the HIV to be less stigmatized because you can't pass it on to everybody. And then we're going, oh, yeah, but you can't go to that place on holiday.
Yeah.
It's just not on, is it? Right. In Europe, so you won't be surprised to know that most places in Europe, there aren't any restrictions at all. Good.
But I am surprised to know there are some.
Well, only if you are going Cyprus. So people from outside the EU, this wouldn't have affected us a few years ago, Jess. See, it does now. If you're applying for a temporary residence permit, which you might be, because Cyprus, lots of English expats there, the army's over there and all that kind of stuff, you will have to prove that you don't have HIV before the permit will be issued. But that doesn't apply if you're diplomatic personnel or a high-ranking company employee. I don't understand. So if you earn a lot of money or you're like the CEO, well, essentially, Jess, if I was going to work in Cyprus as a CEO, I don't think I have to worry about proving whether I've got HIV or not, but you will.
What? But I'm high-ranking. Although someone did call me the cook yesterday. Oh. It was the way they said it, wasn't it? It was savage. I've never seen you move faster. You were straight in there like, this is so-and-so, Jess. Let me introduce you. So,
that was the best bit. It was the interaction between the two of you.
I was just stunned. I was just sat there like, I mean, I'm going to make some sandwiches. I'm not sure that constitutes cooking.
No. I don't know what was said to make him assume that was your full-time role.
And that is how he said it, wasn't it? He just marched straight up to you. You the cook? Like, no. I work here and I'm making some sandwiches.
I can understand it. Like if you had a chef's hat and a stripy apron on and...
I was sat at a desk writing up client notes, like in a mountain of paperwork. Are you the cook? Okay.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Do you know what? I'll forgive him because he was lovely.
Oh, he is lovely, yeah.
We're going to just brush over Jimbo barking. It's too hot. He's very upset. I've had to remove all the rugs from like the kitchen and the hall.
Really?
Yeah, so they've got like a cool, because my dogs are idiots and they will just keep laying on like hot carpet and stuff. So I've pulled everything up so that they have cool areas to lay on. You still not happy?
The only hot day we're having. It's going to cool down tomorrow.
Do you mean the rest of the week's been awful as well? I hate the heat.
No, I'm not a fan of it. You just can't do anything.
But that's the thing, isn't it? Like if you want to do literally anything, you best get up at 5 a.m. That's your best chance of doing anything you might want to do throughout the day.
I did get up early yesterday to drop my husband at work because his car was at the garage. So I was like, well, you get up insanely early. I got up at 6 o'clock. It was a blooming liberty that I've been asked to get up this early. I made it very clear to him. I was not happy that I was doing this favour for him. But the roads are clear. Dropped him off at work. Not a problem. Drove back. Thought, well, awake now. Might as well go and get some petrol. Had to queue.
At that time in the morning?
Yes. Why? Why is this? Why is the petrol station full of people? What is it about that time in the morning?
Oh, I love that time in the morning because that's when I want to walk my dogs. That's when I want to exercise. Like tomorrow, I have a dog field booked for 6 a.m. So I will have to leave the house at 5:30.
Oh.
Yeah. But
it's
lovely.
Fully light at that time.
I know, thank God. I know, but you can't. The only thing I don't like about this time of year, I like how light it is for things like that, but I don't like that you can never catch a sunrise.
Well, no, that's fine by me. I don't see it any other time of the year. I've heard about it, but it's just not for me.
It's so different.
I'm all about the sunset.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm not so much. So I'm early to rise, early to bed, baby. Are you the opposite?
Sunset is beautiful. They're good at this time of year.
Who is up that late? You're insane. I take my dogs out for their last wee at 9:30 so I can go to bed. And I'm like, why is it still fully bright? This is awful.
Great, isn't it?
No, I hate it.
Okay. Right. Back to the
episode.
Yeah, maybe. Where are we looking now? Central and Eastern Europe. They've broken Europe into lots of little pieces. So if you go to Russia, and I know no one will at the moment, or do people still travel there? No, surely not. No HIV testing is required for short-term tourist stays up to 3 months, but foreign residents found to be HIV positive are expelled.
I thought you were going to say something so much worse. You started it saying that in a different way, didn't you?
I mean, they say expelled.
Yeah. Could be, couldn't it? Let's not anger the Russians, Sarah.
No, but yes, you're absolutely right. If you're going to go there and stay for longer than 3 months, you must present a negative HIV test. Even if you're using a multi-entry visa, don't know what that means, but it might be helpful to somebody. Bosnia and Azerbaijan, no restrictions on long-term stays. Slovakia. Who did we play in football last night? Slovenia.
Yeah.
Okay.
How did you feel about that?
What, the football?
The men's football, Sarah. The men's football.
I just think they could learn a thing or two from the women's football team.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. But that's why we're also using our micro-feminisms, aren't we? It's not the Euros, it's the men's Euros.
Oh, I see.
Yes, because we have to call everything, don't we? Every event is like the World Cup or the Women's World Cup. So it's like, no, it's the men's.
Oh, I've seen this on social media.
Yes.
A lot of stuff goes straight over my head, but yes.
My favourite one today, Zoe sent this to me. It said the Lionesses men's team aren't very good, are they?
Oh, I've seen that. I was going to send it to my husband.
Loved it.
But no, they're not very good. Right, Slovakia.
Yes.
If you're applying from outside the EU, yes, we are. And you're applying for a temporary resident permit, you have to prove that you don't have HIV before one is issued. If you are going to Hungary, you have to report your HIV status when applying for a residence permit. So it's all around residency in these countries. However, in Hungary, they say being HIV positive can't be used as a reason for denying your permit application. Okay, Hungary, fair enough. But why are you asking then?
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's irrelevant, isn't it?
Why would that matter?
Yeah, you nosy bonkers.
Oh, it just makes me think of the kids' character. So for anyone doesn't know, have we talked about this before? I'm sure we have, and we've shared it.
What's he called? Nosy Bonk?
He calls Mr. Nosy Bonk. There was this horrible children's TV character called Mr. Nosy Bonk, and he is the thing of nightmares.
Oh, right. Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, all got restrictions on long-term stays. East Asia, no restrictions generally for people living and travelling with HIV to East Asia. Okay. China used to ban short-term visitors with HIV, but they don't anymore. However, the website I mentioned earlier, HIVTravel.org, recommends that you don't declare your status on visa application forms. And it also says, be very careful with voluntary status declarations, such as wearing a red ribbon. Just be wary of going to China. It's an unknown entity, isn't it, really? There you go, upset that lot of two.
Oh, Sarah.
But it is. It's all a bit, yeah, it's like...
Well, it's just a bit unnerving if you're saying, no, it's fine, but just be careful about doing these things that openly show that it's like, oh.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with that.
No, I hear you.
If you're going to work or study in China, then you have to do an HIV test if you're going for more than 6 months. Hong Kong, because Hong Kong's part of China now, isn't it? Yeah. So they have different rules and regulations. The only country, can you guess the only country in Asia, East Asia, that deports people because of their HIV status?
North Korea?
Yes. Of course they do.
We knew, didn't we?
Yeah. No one's going to North Korea anyway, are they? Podcast is going a long way to help diplomatic relations around the world.
I think it is, Sarah. Well done, you.
Well done, us, Jess. Government, you're welcome. Right, South and Southeast Asia, again, very few restrictions. However, people living with HIV are not allowed to enter Brunei. And if you're found to be HIV positive, they'll deport you.
Okay.
And in Bhutan, you have to present the results of a test, HIV test, that was taken 6 months before your visit. Bhutan, you're missing the point. You can catch HIV within that 6-month period.
Yeah, I think they're not really fully getting that, are they?
But only if you want to stay longer than 2 weeks. People who test positive again, deported.
Oh, wow.
I know. Maldives, Malaysia and Singapore have restrictions on longer term stays. If you're going to Malaysia or Sri Lanka, some of the guidance is unclear. So again, like we said before, those are the ones to be wary of.
Yeah.
Because if they've got unclear guidance, they can do what they like.
Yes, speak to the embassy.
Right, now how do you say the next continent? Because I thought it was Oceania, but it's not spelt like that. It's like Oceania. Or have I just typed it wrong?
Oceania, let's see. Oceania, pronunciation. Right, here we go.
Oceania.
Oceania?
Oceania. Wait, Oceania.
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 Oceania. No, she don't.
Okay. Gone back to your market days there.
It's just, right, Oceania. It just sounds like you're going, no, she doesn't. That's what it reminds me of, Oceania. Although I've learned how to say it. You know, if you say something like, is it 6 times and it would just stay in your brain? Oceania.
Oceania. I just don't think anyone uses that anyway.
Oceania. I'm going to correct everyone here now.
Right. So again, generally no restrictions. So Oceania is New Zealand, Australia, and a whole host of little tiny islands.
Sounds magical.
Does sound magical, doesn't it? One of those islands is the Solomon Islands, where entry may be denied on the basis of you having HIV. Not so magical now, is it?
Yeah, that's not.
And the Marshall Islands, where you have to test if you're staying more than 30 days. I'm going to say to you, Marshall Islands, that you're probably not big enough to warrant a stay over 30 days.
Oh, you think you'll have done everything?
Sounds quite small, doesn't it?
The Marshall. Well, there's more than one island, though. Is it called the Islands?
Oh, yeah, I suppose you could be island hopping. Fair point. In Australia, all long-term visa applicants over the age of 15 have to take an HIV test. If you're under 15, an HIV test might also be required if you have a history of blood transfusions, if your mother is living with HIV, or there is a medical sign that you might be living with HIV. Oh, do you know what? There's many things wrong with this. So firstly, not worried about dad living with HIV, are they? I know they mean like mother to baby transmission.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just put all the onus on the mum, shall we?
Yeah.
And blood transfusions. And what are medical signs of HIV?
But that's what I was saying. That's what I'm quite interested about. And that's very ambiguous, isn't it?
Yeah. I suppose, are they going back to like the 80s?
Possibly. I mean, yeah. I mean, I still get asked. We did a health event last Friday where we were asked about all the symptoms and what to look out for. And I was just like, this is such a tricky one to answer because yes, we know that people can have some symptoms when they when they're seroconverting. But I said to the person I was chatting to, but these also, not everyone has them and not everyone has them to the same degree. And they also mimic an awful lot of other things that you could have. So it's, I hate talking about that. So what do they mean?
I don't know. But they use the same approach as Canada, where they consider how much that person's long-term health condition will cost the Australian health system.
Right.
Which again, it's a bit ambiguous because it's like saying how long's a piece of string? Nobody knows if they're going to fall ill while they're in a country.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, if you want to know more, look at their government website. In New Zealand, people with HIV are assessed on a case-by-case basis. If you are living with HIV and in a long-term stable relationships with a New Zealand citizen, you will be granted an automatic medical waiver. How do you determine if someone is in a long-term, well, not long-term, because that's on the number of years, stable? But maybe the stability.
But does stable mean things like renting a home together, or do you know what I mean? Having like joint account and having like linked assets in a way.
Fair enough. That's New Zealand. Other countries. Oh, there's no information available at all for French Polynesia or Kiribati. So there you go.
I've never heard of Kiribati.
No, nor have I. Tiny, must be tiny. So, having given everybody all that information, we need to know what to do if we have to travel to any of the countries that we've mentioned.
Yep.
So we've said the website, hivtravel.org. But you can also contact the embassy or the consulate to ask about travel restrictions. You can keep your name anonymous and you can also keep your HIV status anonymous. If you're going to a British overseas territory, then the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office website is a good place to start. So essentially, do your research. If they're not helpful or you can't get through to them, you can always try and contact an HIV organisation in the country that you're travelling to and ask them for information.
That is a good tip.
Yes. Now, I know what you're thinking, because we've worked together for so long. you're thinking, but what if I am HIV positive and I live in one of the countries we've mentioned that restricts or bars entry?
Yes.
Well, next week's episode, we are going to look at that. So we are going to look at what support is available for HIV positive residents, people who are born in these countries, Bhutan and Brunei. And we're going to look at the fabulous work that charities there are doing to support those affected by HIV.
Oh, amazing. Can I also make a point, please? I don't know.
Yes, you may.
I don't know why I'm asking you like that. We have quite a few people. This is on topic. I'm not taking us off on a crazy tangent. We have quite a few people that will get in touch to ask us to have an HIV test because they want a certificate, because they're either moving abroad, they're going to work abroad, or they're going to be there for a longer term stay. Now, I just wanted to point out that you can't get a certificate like that from like a point of care test, a home test, a community test. And often a lot of sexual health clinics just do not have the capacity to also be able to do that. So what you need is like a full blood test. So if you Google, you should be able to Google like your nearest, it'll be like a private clinic.
Do you know what I'm thinking? We should start charging that just for testing.
But that means you get the certificate. But
I can knock up a certificate. We've all seen my clip art Word document. I
just feel like the governments in places like Egypt would be like, no, you can't. We can't use this. No, thank you.
Red ribbons all around it, like a red ribbon border.
Some dry pasta stuck on it. So just to let people know that I know everyone goes straight to a community venue. Then, and also what we've had is I've had people test, say if they're negative and they say, right, can I have that in writing? And I'm like, well, no, I can't, because it's a community test. We can't do it in that same way. So yes, so don't waste your time. Go straight to a place where you know they'll be able to do that for you.
No, don't bother us. Not even for £1,000 will we do it.
Yeah, unfortunately. And obviously, like I said, the sexual health clinics are absolutely bursting at the seams with how overwhelmed they are with their demand is going up. Capacity has gone down, funding has gone down. So don't go to them either. Go to your local private clinic where you're going to have to pay, but you are going to get what you want.
Oh, sound advice.
Yeah.
That's it. That's our whistle stop tour finished.
Oh, I loved it. What was your favourite part? I'm going to start asking you. What's your favourite bit?
My favourite bit was actually when we didn't talk about the podcast at all. We just talked about sunrises and sunsets.
My favourite bit is still that I don't know if it's Aruba or Bermuda in that song.
Oh, God. No, don't start this again. I'm not interested. I do not want to hear.
Come on, pretty mama.
Thanks for listening to the HIV podcast. If you enjoyed our podcast, please like, rate and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts.
You can now also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the HIV Podcast for behind the scenes insights and video. The HIV Podcast is produced by Thames Valley Positive Support.